Let's see, if anybody comes in here, let me know. I'm trying something different here. Can't tell if anybody's in this live stream or not. Oh, I see one. Let me see here. Oh. Hey, for those of you popping in right now, I just thought I'd try something different here. Let me know if you can hear me okay. I'll have to see if I can find the comments here. I've never done a live stream like this. I'm using my phone. I don't know if the audio quality is any good. Okay, I see the comments popping up now. So I'm only like 2 feet from my phone, sitting here in the studio here. So I thought I would just do a little live stream this evening on Valentine's Day. Haven't been able to put out as many videos as usual. Wow, South Korea, cool. Good to see you. Yeah, everybody feel free to let me know where you're from. See if I can see that far. I might have to get my phone a little closer to me here to be able to see better. So let's see. Don't know if I can do that real easy here. Maybe I can pull it up on this screen. Like I say, I've never done it this way. I usually set my camera all up, and my big camera, I'm doing it on my phone, so the whole screen is just my phone. Now let's see. Where is... So I thought we would just open up a live stream here for general chat and discussion if anybody wants to ask me any questions. And now I see my iPad is nearly dead. That's not good. I'm not very good at all this live streaming stuff. Let's see, Tacoma, Florida, Tennessee, cool. The comments only like, I can only see like 2 at a time, so let me see if I can find it on here. Surely I can see myself. Yeah, there. Maybe this will work. I have to turn the volume down though. Now I can see more questions, more of your comments. So anyway, Maryland, Glasgow, Nova Scotia, Canada. Yeah, and I'm open to questions of whatever, whether if you guys want to talk about drywall or the weather, whatever. I just figured I would open this up and try just a general chat, kind of a live stream, and see if you guys got any questions. I see one right off the bat says, let's see, thanks for all your questions. Well, there's a delay on here. I've removed all the popcorn from the ceiling. Does it have to be entirely skim coated, or can I just prime? Now, there's a big misconception about skim coating, and a lot of you have the impression that we skim coat everything, and often skim coating means different things to different people. Like a lot of times we say just after you coat a joint, for example, we say now you just got to put a skim coat on it. Well, that's kind of true. We're putting a thin skim coat on it. But a lot of times what you're talking about with, like, when we break out this is a skim coating blade. Now that's a different type of skim coating. That's like skim coating the whole thing. So if you remove the popcorn from your ceiling, here's what I do. I remove it, I repair all the cracks, dings, chips, all the things that you damaged removing it. Then I look it over and see if it needs refinished. A lot of times back in the 70s when I was spraying this and others, we could get by with just one coat sometimes. and it really needs two. So if they only did one coat, you got to recoat it. That's one reason I've owned a drywall mud box for quite a while, is I bought it for doing popcorn ceilings. After I'd remove it, I'd just go through and coat them all. Doesn't take very long, and then that way I knew it was good. So once I got all that done, all the chalky stuff sanded off, it's just like new drywall from that point. So you can just go ahead and texture it, or you can prime it and then texture it. You don't have to skim coat it. Skim coating is mainly for when you're fixing a lot of things on a lot of area, or if you're trying to leave it level 5. Level 5 pretty much always requires skim coating, so that would be the time. Man, this is kind of weird. I'm watching myself on my iPad here, but if you can see me, there's a really big delay. Now you watch, it's going to take a little bit for that to see. It's just now changing, so I'm watching myself about 10 seconds behind over here. Okay, so let's see, we got several people from Canada. Cool. And yeah, all the time I put into it. Let me tell you about that time. A lot of you probably don't even realize how much time it takes to do these YouTube videos. I spend a lot of time. Honestly, as a lot of you know, I've had a lot of health issues and I can't get out here and physically do as much as I want to. But when I'm sitting and resting, I've still got my phone in my hand answering your questions. I think a lot of you know that I tend to answer as many questions as I can, as long as they're not too complex, and it takes a lot of time. So I sit and watch TV and answer questions. I'm working on YouTube in some way or the other, probably 15, 16 hours a day, because it is my wife and I's future. That's one of the things I was going to tell you guys about. My wife and I are trying to build a house this year sometime, so I'll tell you about that, a little bit more about that. I can show you how we've been working on some drawings. I've been working on this for like a month or two, trying to get the layout for our dream home. But let me go ahead and see if I can answer another one of these questions here. Let's see. Mesh tape doesn't seem to have the best hold. Actually, if that's what you're saying, mesh tape, I found it sticks really well if you do it right, and too many people do it wrong, which is you have to use a setting type joint compound. The manufacturer even says so. I've honestly probably put on at least 500 full rolls of mesh tape in my time, because the last 20 years I spent just doing nothing but repairs, and I used mesh tape 95% of the time and never had a problem. So it's really all about technique. Let's see. These skim coating blades, I love them. I see some comments about them. I got the full set. Level 5 did send it to me, but I already had one of them, so I've actually got 2 of these 24-inch ones. I've been trying to find a way to give one away, and I just don't get much participation when I hold a little contest in that. But maybe I can figure out a way to give one away someday. I was going to do it on Patreon, but Patreon said I can't do giveaways on there, so still trying to find ways to do it. Let's see. Is a bazooka worth the investment? Really depends what you're doing, because if you're just like taping 1 or 2 jobs a year, bigger jobs, I'd say maybe not. Honestly, I have run this bazooka, not this exact one, but I've run bazookas a lot. In my recent video, you can probably see it was the first time I'd run a bazooka in that video in 25 years, because I didn't have a need for it, doing nothing but repairs. And yet I picked it up and it was like I'd never put it down. So once you get used to it, you just, it goes so much faster. I wouldn't do it any other way. If I was just gonna do like one a year, maybe I would, but um, I have taped by hand, I've taped with the banjo, number of different ways, and once you get good at the bazooka, it rocks. You can flat haul butt with it, so it will make you money. And honestly, guys, the level 5, from what I've seen, is top quality, and on top of that, it's one of the more affordable ones. It's only like, I think it's $1,000 right now for the bazooka, and a lot of them are 1,500 in that, and I don't see where you would gain anything by going to those more expensive ones, because this, I've used quite a few bazookas and I can't find anything that I would like to see improved on this. It just did everything I wanted, did it well, feels really well built. For the money, it's a great one. Yeah, it's just a step up. Like I've used bazooka or banjos, and personally I absolutely hate them. They are, I just happen to have it sitting right here. It is a decent tool. I've used it many times because it's affordable. That's the only real advantage to it, is it's affordable. Wow, that delay. So if you can afford it and you're doing more than 2 or 3 jobs a year, I would definitely do it. Hey, Mills Construction. I got your sticker right down here on the front of my table. I'm waiting to see mine on your channel. Let's see. Here, I'll show you. Real quick. See? All right, got everything all crooked now. No, I'm just funning you. It's, I did send you one, but it's all cool. Let's see. Who else we got here? Insulation. You know what, guys? I've really wanted to do some videos about that. As a matter of fact, I just did a little job this last week where I bid it on the premise that this other guy said he could do the work for me because I wasn't sure I was up to it. And then he got too busy and I had to go do it. Luckily, they weren't in a hurry. And so I bought some rock wool insulation because I want to talk to you guys about insulation and weather stripping. This house that we're planning on building, we plan to build a very energy efficient house. It's basically going to be passive certified. I've been studying home energy efficiency for quite a while, and I'm convinced I can build a house that takes about 1/4 the amount of energy to heat it and cool it as normal. And the trade-off is going to be spend more on sealing it, building it better, weather stripping, so on. There's a lot more to it. You'll spend more on that, but you'll spend a lot less on your HVAC equipment. So to me, it's totally worth it. Plus, I just like the idea of a house that's really comfortable in the wintertime especially. So, anyway, yeah, insulation, it gets kind of a little bit complicated, but here's what I've discovered. You want to pay attention to things like thermal bridging, which means will the cold or the heat on this side of your wall come through the wall through your studs. Wood studs have an R value, wood has an R value about 1 per inch, so it's really low. So in a 3.5 inch, say an exterior 6-inch wall, which is 5.5 inches, you're gonna get 5.5 R value out of that stud, whereas the rest of it is about R21, I think. So your wood studs are actually transmitting cold through. So the way, like what I'm gonna do is put a foam layer on the exterior of the house, and that breaks that thermal bridging. The cold can't get through the foam to the wood to transmit through the wall into the house. And the other thing we'll be doing is using like zip sheathing, which is pre-treated exterior sheathing. You don't have to put the house wrap on with this stuff. It's really good. It has all these tapes that you use and liquid flashing and all these really good products that seal the house up super tight. And then I'm sure some of you will go, but you don't want super tight house. It's going to be stale air. Well, what you do is you put a heat exchanger in it, and basically it takes air from outside, it brings it into your house, takes an equal amount of the inside house, puts it back outside, and as they go past each other, they exchange the heat. So you only lose something like, I think it's 15% of the heat, because it transfers the indoor heat to the outside cold, comes in as warm air again. And it's just little tiny amounts. You don't need a ton of air, so it's just like puffs of air. And you keep a really fresh house. It's got fresh air. Plus it's going through like a MERV 16 filter, really cleaning the air up a lot. And the foundation, I've been going back and forth on this. What I think I want to do is SIPs, or not SIPs, actually ICE, which is insulated concrete form, ICF I think it is. So it's basically like 2 inches of foam on both sides of your concrete wall, and it makes like a Lego assembly. You can build a wall really quickly, put some rebar in there, pour the concrete, and you've got a solid concrete wall with insulation on both sides. And that would be for a crawl space, not a slab on grade. And then that way it's already sealed, then you seal the rest of the way up and you get a really tight, energy efficient house. I'm actually, hey, Chad Boudreau, I appreciate that. If you want, I would be glad to touch base with you. I have studied it quite a bit. I've actually thought about, with the spray foam, I've thought about doing like a flash and bat maybe, so 1 inch of spray foam and then the rest rock wool mineral insulation. I tend to like the rock wool because I'm going to do a video on that, but I tend to like it because it's basically waterproof. It is fireproof. It has really good sound attenuating abilities, so it absorbs a lot of the sound. And it's got a little bit higher R value than some like the fiberglass. But we're going to put the blanket on the outside of the house. Now I get a lot of this terminology and such from watching YouTube, and if you guys want to study any of this, go look up Matt Reisinger. If you do, comment, tell him I sent you. He is really good on home energy efficiency and modern building practices. So there's so much that goes into it. I want to do a separate video on that one day, but let's see. Closed cell sheets that are 4x8 and they get tuck tape. Yeah, I'm basically going for roughly an R30 wall and probably not much higher in the ceiling. We're going to do what's called a conditioned space or a hot roof, which means the traditional framing or building method is like in this house, which is insulate your walls, put the drywall up and insulate on top of the drywall. But there's so much air leakage that way. Plus you got all these things like ductwork in your attic, blowing air conditioned air through in the summer that's getting heated up by 140-degree air in the attic. So the new way of thinking is seal your house up, kind of like Monopoly building, where it's just solid sealed up all the way down, all the way under, and then you insulate the roof line. So it's like you can blow it into the rafters up there. If you got an attic, it just depends how you're building it, but you make the roof insulated and not the ceiling. You get a lot more energy efficiency like that. Let's see. Oh, let's see. So yeah, if you do it that way, um, we do that for attic, spray 2 inches of seal. Yeah, the way I'm going to be building it with this zip sheathing and Liquiflash and all these other products that seal it up super well, we're going for what's called a blower door test of under 3, but I'm shooting for under 1, which is passive certified, and that means that if you've got a blower door test of 3, I think that basically means 3 times an hour, all the air in your house is basically exchanging with the outside air. So you're losing a lot of your heat in a normal house. And a lot of that is through air leakage around penetrations in the wall where pipes come in, electrical comes in, outlets in your ceiling. I've been in attics where I've been crawling around and I could see light around the light fixtures and walls, and I've seen so much leakage in attics that typical older style houses is they'll have a blower door a score of like 7 to 10, which means they are just leaking a ton of air out. So we're going for a super high efficiency, very tightly sealed house like that. Yeah, you can build a whole house out of the ICF. I think I don't want to do that because of just a few reasons. Like if you screw up and put a window in the wrong spot, it's really hard to move it. If you screw up with wood, it's a lot easier. There are just a number of reasons. It's a little harder to run plumbing and electrical because you actually have to run it through the phone. So I'll probably go with stick built above the foundation of ICF. And what we're shooting for, let's see if I can show you this. Ever watch a guy go through a wall? Oh. Let's see. Yeah, and guys, this is, we're talking about building our dream home. For those of you that don't know any of our story, the last time I owned a house was in 2004. I had a house with an 8-car garage. It was 2,100 square foot garage, 30 by 70. It was painted floors, skip trowel, bullnose, had a half bath, heated. It was a nice garage, and it was a weird house because it had the house built on top of the garage. So all of the house was on the second floor, and it had a partial deck up there. So it was only a 1,700 square foot house with a 2,100 square foot garage. But when I bought it, I was single. It was like perfect. I got a couple street rods I had down there, and I was running my drywall out of some bays, working on street rods and some, doing woodworking and some, and I was still able to park in there. That's the last time I owned a house. So since then, I came up here to help my dad out. He was having heart attack issues, health issues. He and I were buying 20 acres together out in the country, and he was going to split that up, and I was going to take 5 acres, the house, and a 1,500 square foot shop. Well, he passed away suddenly at 70, and it was still in his name, so the bank took it. I had already put about 15 grand into the property, pouring concrete in the shop and insulating all kinds of things. I had to walk away from it all and just eat it. Well, ever since then, my wife and I, that's about the time my current wife and I met in 2009, roughly. Since then, we have moved, I think it's 9 or 10 times. We've just moved too much. So, the reason we moved so much is the very next place we moved to was on 4.5 acres. It had a 40,000 gallon in-ground pool, nice little place. I was doing biodiesel out of that and a little bit of construction back when I was still manufacturing biodiesel equipment. Well, that place was a rental. It got foreclosed and we got kicked out again. So it's just been a series of houses being sold out from us, dishonest landlords, all kinds of crap. So we kind of been through hell, and then we had to deal with a lot of the health issues of my prostate cancer, peripheral neuropathy, restless legs. Been hospitalized for diverticulitis for 4 days, vertigo that's permanent from a virus that did 40% nerve damage in my right inner ear. Took me out of climbing ladders for over a year. My brain finally retrained. Then I got COVID in 2020, March of 2020, and I haven't felt worth a crap ever since. I've had no energy ever since then, which I'm still struggling with, but I'm trying everything I can to work on that for the next couple months. Let's see, I'm even probably going to do some hyperbaric chamber treatments, whatever I can afford, basically. And we're also going to try and take a little mini vacation in Las Vegas in April by attending a home building show. I think it's a National Association of Hardware. So it's like tools and plumbing supplies and just all kinds of stuff. A big convention in Vegas. So I could go there and do a video for you guys, show you all the cool stuff I find, and basically write part of that off, and we could make that our little mini honeymoon. My wife and I were going to go there for our honeymoon. We actually had shows bought, we had motel rented, we even had a Corvette rented for a couple days to go have some fun. All this stuff, and then that house we were in with the pool, well, the landlords decided to be assholes, and so they had the water locked off, which is against the law, but they did it anyway. And I can tell you this, when you have no water, you got to move fast. So that was right after our wedding, like 2 days after we got married, so we canceled everything. Lost deposits, and off we went again looking for another place. So in the meantime, while we were there, I actually went out to that pool, which I had all sanitized. I put a pump in the pool, pumped it right back in the house, took a spigot off the side of their house, and like I didn't care at that point. Pumped it back in. We had water to at least wash the dishes, take a shower. We just couldn't drink it. So anyway, we didn't get to go on our honeymoon, so we're thinking of trying to turn this into our really late makeup honeymoon and do some of that stuff depending on what we can afford. Oh, let's see what else we're covering here. So anyway, my point was this is going to be our final, we call it our forever home. Some places call it aging in place, because we want to build a house that we can live in until we just can't stay in it any longer. So we're going to have an elevator, like a lift, whatever we can afford. They got some medium affordable lifts that you can get, and my wife needs it now. She's had 3 knee replacements in her life. She can barely climb stairs at all, but I may need it one day. So we're going to build it so that we can be in there for a long time, even if we are 80 and everything's creaking and groaning too much. Okay, let's see. So anyway, that's why we're trying to build a killer house. We're trying to make this the most ideal house that we can. So if everybody will hang on a second, I need to run and grab a charging cord. I think it's just right over there. This iPad's about to go dead. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Let's see. Plug in. We got a DeWalt USB charger here. And maybe this will get me back up and running. All right. And it's the wrong one. Okay, well, I guess it's gonna go dead. So anyway, let's see. So I'll tell you what we're thinking on designing. It's probably going to be right around 4,500 square feet. We're designing it to have a crafting room for my wife. She loves to sew and do artsy craft stuff, so that'll be her big crafting room. I want to have a big roomy office for this business because it's growing. I'm starting to hire people part-time. We want to have a media room for watching movies. It'll have a killer screen, a killer sound system, a game room, a place where I can go and relax, have fun, chill out, and get away from things. So it'll be a pretty roomy one with a big garage, a pantry off of the kitchen, things like that. So it will be basically a dream house now, where I also plan on building a 6,000 square foot shop. Why so big? Well, I can write that off too. As some of you know, I have another channel. I started it recently. It's that Kilted Guy Creates, because I'm actually a fairly creative guy. I like to build things out of wood, metal, whatever. I used to go by the nickname of MacGyver because my name is Guy, because I'm one of those that likes to make things out of anything, and I'm pretty good at it. So I've got a couple street rods I could work on. I want to get back into woodworking and do all kinds of things with woodworking, and then a video studio for doing this stuff. So we would have about a third and a third and a third: automotive, woodworking, and drywall and paint and home improvement stuff. And because it's all studio, I get to write a lot of it off. So another reason we can think about building so big, you might go, wow, how can you afford that? Well, I'll tell you a little secret about YouTubers. You might not know this. When you get big, you get a lot of advantages. One advantage is you get a lot of stuff for free. All these level 5 tools sitting here, it's close to $4,000 worth of tools. Now, I just asked for them. I said, I like your tools. I've been using them for years. I'd like to show them on my channel. They sent them to me because I believe in their tools. And by using them and showing you guys and recommending them, some of you are going to buy them, and it helps them and it helps me. And I honestly wouldn't recommend it if I didn't think they were top quality. I'm only going to try and recommend stuff that I think is really high quality. So I can do that with building a house too, but I might need to get a little bit bigger. But I can get discounts on things like maybe a lot of the building materials. I may get discounts on some of the labor because I could advertise for that person that's helping out. We can get a lot of things for free. I recently asked Straight Flex for some stuff. Well, they sent me this butt tape, sent me this giant roll patch. They sent me, this is kind of like some tape on L metal, L bead, and another roll patch. They sent me a ton. That's just a partial amount of it. They sent me their corner bead applicators, probably $800 worth of stuff because I asked for it. And that took 6 years to get to this point where I can ask for stuff. I started this channel in December of 2015. So it's been a long, hard road to get here. But now I'm big enough where I should be able to build this house for a lot less. And then you got to also realize that when we're doing these videos about building a house, you guys are going to watch them. We make money off of every video we do. So every time we start a project of framing or doing the foundation, putting in the flooring, the roofing, whatever, each one of those can be a video where I can show you guys how we did it, teach you some things, and we make money on that. So building a house as a YouTuber is going to cost me far less. And if my health will hold up and I can do a lot of the work, I can save a ton on that too, because I honestly have done just about everything. I've done trim carpentry, I've set doors, windows, I've done laminate flooring, cabinets, of course paint, drywall. The only things I won't mess with are carpeting, the big concrete, roofing, and maybe even the flooring, but I'd probably have a helper doing it for me because my knees are shot. I don't like to crawl on them anymore. So I can save a ton just by basically being the general contractor and doing a lot of the work too. And now I'm down to 5% battery. Let's see how long this lasts. And honestly, guys, I love doing this stuff. I don't want you guys to think that I'm doing this just for the money, because I like helping you guys. I love hearing how I've helped you guys save a lot of money, get better, improve your skills. I mean, why not pass on what I've learned? Took me a long time to learn this. I might as well pass it on to some of you guys, and I really enjoy it. I love teaching and helping you guys out. So, no, let's see, I'm lagging to somewhere, I see. Sorry about that. So, and I'm also shaking right now. This is part of my fatigue thing. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but when I get tired, I just get so weak everywhere, head to toe. I start shaking. But I'm working on it. Yeah. Anybody that's crawled on their knees a lot knows what I mean. I've got a video I want to show you guys about some great knee pads that I found recently. They're like $60, but they are pretty dang nice. I got so many videos I want to do for you guys, so many, that it's frustrating that I can't do them because I'm so freaking tired, and I'm having to sit and watch TV, and I'm not that kind of person. I don't like to sit and watch TV for, honestly, some days I have to watch TV for like 8 hours a day. I just don't have the energy to do anything else, sometimes more. Sometimes I can't do anything, but I work when I can. I try and work, like I say, on my phone and that the rest of the time. Oh, let's see, any other questions I'm missing? Yep, like I say, I'm glad to help you guys. And honestly, I'm the kind of person who, as long as I've got some hope for feeling better, I'm going to move forward. It's that fear that I'm going to run out of things to try, because I've tried so much and I'm going to feel this tired the rest of my life. I don't know how I can do it, because I can't just sit and watch TV all day. So anyway, that's tough for me to think about, because I'm an active person. Before this virus got me in my right inner ear, I was actually working 100 hours a week. And that's because I saw the value of this YouTube channel. I saw how I could go full time with it. And I knew I had to work hard to do that. So I was working 50 hours a week on YouTube, 50 hours a week on my drywall business. And you might think, oh, that's crazy. Well, here was my schedule. I would get up like 7:30 in the morning. First thing I'd do is go sit on the computer, well, after I peed. And then I'd go sit on the computer, start working, work till like 9 o'clock, head off to a job, work 7 or 8, 9 hours, come home, work on some bids, things like that, shoot a video. I would work all day. I'd take off 1 hour a day to have dinner with my wife, visit, fool around, whatever it was. I tried to make some time for my wife, and then I would go to bed about 1, 2, sometimes 3 in the morning, get up and do it again. And I was doing that 7 days a week. Now, looking back, I realize I probably overdid it, and that might be why I got the virus in here. I weakened my immune system, but my point is, I'm a hard worker. I like to go and just work. And so anyway, I can't do that now. I can barely do anything. It's a little frustrating. As far as I see the deep breathing, I have been trying to work on that. And one of the viewers, I don't see him in here, he offered to give me hypnosis sessions. I have done one of them, and I'm going to do some more to try to focus on learning to relax, to rebuild my energy, and to allow my body to heal itself, to believe in that, because I feel like I kind of lost some faith in that. I used to believe I could heal from anything, but now not so much. So I do work on deep breathing, especially when I need to relax and calm down. Let's see. I love your Chevy trucks. My mom owns a Colorado. My only Chevy truck right now is a 54 Chevy truck. Some of you have probably seen it. I've had that thing since 1980. I love it. I'll never sell it. I've had probably 500 offers to buy it, but it's like a part of me, and I really, really, really want to fix it up really nice on this channel. I just got to get a little health back, a little bit more money, and a place to work on it, which is why we're building that big shop. I also have that 1927 Model T with a 440 Dodge in it. It's a killer vehicle, but again, that one I gotta have the time and money also. I might can show you guys that vehicle real quickly. Let's see. Yeah, there we go, cars. There's both of them sitting in a shop. If you can see that picture. I know it's not the greatest. I'll show you a better one here. This is what the 54 used to look like. That was about 40 years ago, and it's going to get back to looking really good. This is what the Model T looks like. It's a pure hot rod. It's a fun one. I can't sell that one either, not for a while, because that one my dad and I worked on for 35 years together before he passed away, so it's got a lot of sentimental value to me. But I'm going to get them done somehow. Let me see what else we got on here. Oh yeah, see, backing up, I do plan on doing close cell spray foam under the slab. And happy Valentine's Day to everyone. I actually had to go in for a blood draw today. I got a colonoscopy coming up and a bunch of doctor visits. It sucks, but let's see who else we got here. Yeah. Artistic surface finishes. No, I haven't got to finish that. And again, that's also on my list. Some of you might have seen a recent video I did where on this channel, the Kilted Guy Creates, I'm going to teach faux finishes. I went to school for faux finishes. Here, I'm going to grab one more here. Years ago, I took a week-long class for some high-end faux finishes. These aren't your rag rolling, things like that. And I learned things like Venetian plasters. There's many varieties of this. This is just one I did for a sample. I also know how to do faux stone looks. This is a miniature stacked stone that I did. I had to keep it miniature for the sample. So I do plan on doing all those. I just have to get to feeling better. And again, I am doing all I can. We got a whole bunch of things we're working on. I even bought a $500 juicer because I can just throw a bunch of veggies in it and some fruit, make my own veggies, trying to watch our diet. We've looked into anti-inflammation diets, and there's a bunch I'm trying to do, so I am working on it. My current truck, for those of you that don't know, is 2019 Ford F-150 we bought a while back. And I've been wanting to do a video to show you guys, but I shot drone shots and everything with it, so I was going to put it on this channel because you can't monetize drone videos unless you have a license, and I don't have a license yet. And I plan to get that too. You have to take an actual FAA licensing test to get a drone license. And so if I do it where I can't monetize it on this channel, then I can do it, but it'll be a while. I'm actually blown away by this truck. Never been a huge Ford fan, but I kind of liked them. Well, this is a Ford truck, and I fell in love with it. And I also kind of hated 6-cylinders. Never liked them. I'm a big V8 fan. I love this one. It hauls butt, got tons of power. It's quiet most of the time, but when I turn on sport mode, it gets a rumble to it. It sounds really good. So, and it's very comfortable and everything else. Oh, let's see. Yeah, I actually plan on putting together a bunch of courses, as some of you know. One of them would actually be, I can probably teach you how to do 30 different textures. And when you specialize in doing drywall repairs, and that's the main thing you do, and you do it for as long as I have, just drywall repairs over 20 years, I don't even know, 25 maybe by now. And before that, of course, I dabbled in it like most drywallers. Well, I've had to match just so many textures out there, and I've learned how to do it. So I want to teach you guys how to do 20 or 30 textures in a course, and that way it just goes through, you know, you can pick which one you want to learn, which one you don't. You got this whole palette of textures. And for those of you that do repairs, you can come in and go, oh, hey, I got one just like that I need to do. How did he do that? Instead of trying to hunt it down, figure out what we call it, you'll have a picture of everything, you'll know. Because the thing about textures is, in one place we'll call it a skip trowel, the next place they call it a Sun Valley texture. We just, as drywallers, we got so many names for textures, you may have a really hard time finding it. So I'm going to put together a course that will teach you all of that stuff, and you can do it one at a time if you want. And then some I may even just show you how you can get creative with textures and make them up as you go, more or less. But I'll try and teach you how to look at a texture to figure out how somebody else did it. That's a real big key, is you got to figure out how they applied that texture. What did they do? And if it's sprayed, how did they spray it? There's a lot of variables, as some of you know. So I plan on doing that course. I plan on doing a beginner drywall course, an intermediate course, an advanced course, a business building course. My wife is currently helping me put together a book on popcorn ceiling removal. It's not just going to be on removing it. It's going to be on what it is, where it started, how it came out, how to know if it has asbestos in it, what do you do if it has asbestos, so on. It's just going to be an A to Z course on popcorn ceilings. I'll also show you 2 or 3 different ways to remove it, so you can choose what works best for you. My favorite tool for drywall, and I'm down to 3%. Let's see if it holds up. Wait, let me back up one. Matching a stomp texture. I gotta tell you, I think that's the hardest texture in the world to blend. I can match it, but because of the way stomp texture creates this pattern with the bristles, it's really hard to not have that show. It's kind of hard to explain, but you create a big smooth area, then you retexture it, and the old pattern gets interrupted by yours, and it gives it away. 90% of the time it's okay, but with the wrong lighting, I had one I tried 3 times to get it to blend. I had to give up. I didn't charge the guy for it. I charged him for the repair, but not the texture, because I could not make it work. So I think sometime you have to skim coat the whole thing, redo it. Yeah, let's see. Any types of walls, ceilings. Wait. Oh, you guys, let's see. I might have to get another charger if everybody wants to hang on. I know where it is, but I got to keep this thing alive so I can read. So Everybody grab a beer. I'll be right back. Okay, how many's still here? 22, okay. This one should be the right charger. Come on. Dang USBs. Okay, it's not a beer, but sparkling water. Ah, there. I gotta catch my breath. The other issue with this COVID is I can't catch my breath half the time. I'm short of breath, but that's pretty common amongst us. I've even started using my wife's inhaler. She's got asthma, and sometimes I just have to use it. I can't breathe right. So yeah, I don't drink much beer either, rarely. These days I actually don't drink much sugary stuff at all, beers, Pepsi, anything, because I'm trying to be healthy. So mostly water, sugar-free, sparkling water, things like that. Good for you on the year of sober. I will tell you the truth. My mom was an alcoholic all her life. She's still going, but she's had 2 TBIs from falling, and honestly, it might have been because she was dehydrated from drinking. She wasn't drunk all the time. She just got a bit tipsy at night. I went through that. She went through recovery a few times. I got a buddy who's is sobered up after having a lot of issues, and I salute anybody that recognizes that and can do that. So, ooh, 120-year-old house. Wow. My kitty. Well, we recently lost another one. We've had a kind of a tough year. The orange one, he's doing great. It cost us a couple thousand to get him healthy, but he got clogged up. Basically, it's a common thing for male cats especially. He got clogged up to the point where he couldn't even walk. That was our sign. We realized something bad was happening. He was dragging his back feet. And it was a Sunday, so we had to rush him to the emergency room. Of course, they charge you. But they got him going. He spent a week with a veterinarian. We had to take him home and give him IVs and such, and he's doing great now. Sits in my lap every single night, and he's my best friend. But shortly after that, we had a white cat that we adopted off of a job site, actually, and he's one that just kept following me around on this job site, and a lady told me she couldn't keep him. She had him checked out and made sure he got his shots and he was healthy and everything, but she needed to find a home for him. And I couldn't see him. She said he was about to go to the shelter, and I've got a big heart for animals, so I couldn't let that happen. So I took him, and it looks like my iPad's not charging still. Oh, because I plugged into that. All right. There we go. Okay. We were down to 2%. So anyway, I adopted him, didn't know anything about him. Apparently he was getting old. We only had him about 6 years, and his kidneys failed really, really badly. he went downhill in a couple days, so we lost him. But you know, we had him for 6 years and enjoyed the heck out of him. I take really good care of my pets. I'm big on, like I say, treating animals really kindly. One of my dreams with our dream house is to give our cats a big catio. I built them one once before. It was 10 by 10. And I want to build them a big one on the side of the house where they can go in and out of the house, run outside all over ramps and climb poles and just have fun, but safely, because letting them outside is not real safe, and we've lost some over that. Yeah, pets are great. And one thing I found out about pets is the nicer you treat them, the nicer they treat you. So you just got to be kind and patient. A little story about that: we have a tortoiseshell cat, and tortoiseshells are notoriously not lap friendly. Well, we've had her since she was born. She's now probably 11 years old. She just jumped in my wife's lap a few days ago, and now she's the lap kitty. That's patience. It took us 11 years to make her feel safe enough. I'll tell you what, since we're at a pause here, I'll tell some of you a little bit more of my life story. I haven't told all this before. Let's see, I grew up in a family that was split. My parents were divorced. I'm the oldest of 5, and I don't remember them living together. They were divorced way back. So I was one who, whoops, let me close this right here. There. I was one who went to like 8 different schools in my life. I was always bouncing back and forth between parents in different states. And anyway, graduated in 1979. I was really, really shy. I didn't date because I was kind of depressed from moving all the time and always losing friends and all that. I did rodeo in high school. I took FFA. I took wood shop. I learned how to weld in that FFA, and of course wood shop, I learned how to do things in there. I've always been kind of a mechanical minded person. I got out, and 4 years later, drywall dried up around here. I mean, 100%. A big Exxon project shut down the road, and it completely collapsed the economy. So I moved to New Mexico, where my uncle was doing drywall, and worked for him for a while. Joined the military to get out of drywall. And I tested, and they said I tested really high. I had like a 96% or something, 98 on mechanical, 88 on electronics, and I think it was higher on electronics, but I had like a 52 on clerical. Well, guess what I ended up in? Clerical. And that was because I went through the MEP station, which is where they do your physical and all that. And they said I was colorblind by 1 card too many. And they wouldn't retest me that day, so it knocked me out of all mechanical and all electronics. And let's see. So anyway, I took clerical because I had already signed up and wanted to do something. Well, I proved to them about 6 months later that I wasn't colorblind. So I said, I want to retrain. And they said the only way to retrain to go into the career that you want is to go Palace Chase, they call it, which is where you get off of active duty, double your remaining enlistment, and go into the Air National Guard. Well, I really wanted that other job, so I said, sure. I was thinking about making a career of it anyway. I was doing really well. I was advancing faster, going below the zone, things like that. I was winning CBPO top hand. I was ambitious. I wanted to move ahead fast. I was even thinking about becoming an officer. I was taking night courses to finish up my degree so I could go to OTS, Officer Training School. Well, when I did the Palace Chase, that knocked all that out, and so I chose the hardest course I could. I wanted a challenge in my life. I'd always been a slacker in high school, so I chose electronic warfare. I literally went through this book and just picked the hardest course I could, and I challenged myself. So for 9 months, I studied a bit. I didn't really put that much into it, but I made sure to study and I ended up graduating after 9 months of school at top of my class. So I went on from there back into drywall because you got to have a day job in the Air National Guard. And then I've also repossessed cars for a couple years, helping my dad out. I ran and was part owner of a pawn shop for 4 years. I wrote a book about biodiesel, and that ended up on Amazon. And anyway, ended up manufacturing the equipment for 6 years, and then back into construction, and here I am. So that's the short version. And there's the question about butt board again. I don't think I answered that. I actually want to use that. I think it's a great idea. So when we build our house, I plan to use it. I'm going to try when we build the house to put a lot of modern thinking and modern technology and products into that house. So you definitely want to be watching that. Now I see the question about the kilt. Why? I'll tell you why I'm the kilted guy. For one, my name is Guy. That fits in a lot of things. I can be the barefoot guy, the kilted guy, all kinds of things. That's why I also used to be MacGyver. Well, I wear a kilt partly because it's comfortable. I'm at the point where comfort's more important than style. I don't care who I impress except my wife, and she's impressed with me if I'm wearing a gunny sack. So we don't have to worry about that. And honestly, we don't like to wear clothes. You know, I don't feel like we should be all ashamed of our own human bodies. You know, maybe it's not the greatest thing to look at. We all have our own faults or scars. My wife has had she had breast cancer, so they took a lumpectomy. She got a big divot. It is what it is, you know, it's life. She's got scars from C-sections, scars from 3 knee replacements. It's life. We're not perfect forever. We're rarely perfect. And so we've just learned to just accept ourselves the way they are, our bodies are, and not be ashamed of it. So we're comfortable without clothes when we're home. I got to where I just wanted something that was more comfortable than blue jeans, and I tried a kilt on, and I was sold on it. So I don't wear them all the time. I've been wearing pants through the winter because it's cold. I don't need that cold air blowing up there. But in the summer, having a nice breeze and that freedom is just comfortable. And no, I'm not Scottish. I just simply like the comfort. Like I say, I just want to wear as little as possible. So you see me in videos barefoot, wearing shorts or a kilt. Well, the reason I go barefoot is twofold. One is I mostly work on safe houses. So in other words, I'm doing drywall repairs. They have carpet, they have finished flooring. There's nothing to step on. And so it's comfortable to go barefoot in this finished house like you would at home. The other reason is if you're working on a repair, let's say you're in the middle of a living room and you step out of there and walk to your truck to get something, you probably have mud on your shoes. And now you're going to track it all through this person's house unless you made a floor covering all the way. Well, if you're barefoot, you don't have to. You know when you step in it, and before you walk out, you wipe your feet off, or you step out into a pair of flip-flops, walk to your truck, you don't track. So it works for painting, it works for drywall. And then the other thing is I have that peripheral neuropathy. And what peripheral neuropathy is it's nerve damage in your feet, and or it's actually nerve damage usually in your back or something. They don't know where, but it makes pain in the extremities. That's why it's peripheral. That means the outer area. So sometimes it's in your hands. For me, it's the ball of my feet. It starts right here and goes to my toes. And my toes will sometimes turn bright red because they burn like mad. They sting, it's uncomfortable. And going barefoot seems to kill that pain more. Plus, I think it's healthier. I honestly think that shoes are way restrictive. And I mean, look at your hand. It's similar to your foot. It's meant to bend and flex. When you lock them down in shoes and you can't do that all day, your feet get weak. It's not, I don't think it's healthy to wear shoes all the time. Sorry. Let's see. Yeah, I've painted in socks before. Now I just don't wear socks or shoes unless I really have to. I did just buy a $150 pair of boots. They're made by Brunt. I think they're supposed to be one of the most comfortable ones out there. And when we go to building a house, I'm going to need boots. There's no doubt about it. I'm not stupid. I know when to wear shoes and when it's safe not to. And in about 6 or 7 years of going mostly barefoot, I've never hurt my feet. And that's partly because I know when to wear shoes. I also learned to pay attention. I found that if you wear shoes all the time, you expect your shoes to protect you. When you go barefoot, you start looking at what you're going to step on. Plus, we have cats. And if you have pets, you know it's a good idea to look at the floor before you step, because you never know what you're going to step in. I've stepped in puke too many times, and mostly puke, sometimes pee, but did I make a video on hanging drywall around a small window? I haven't done one on hanging yet, and that's partly because I don't do new construction anymore. I just did one because I got all these tools that I needed to demonstrate, and it honestly kicked my butt. It was should have been an 8-day job. It took me a month, but they were okay with it. So I got through it. I got about 30 or 40 videos for you guys that we'll be putting out 1 or 2 a week. But anyway, I just don't do new construction now. When we build my house, I plan on doing lots of videos on drywall. I will try and show you every trick I can. And if there's some things I couldn't show you on our house, I'll set up a mock out in my shop, mock it up and show you. But we're going to try and show you how to minimize the joints, how the proper way to hang, why pros hang horizontally and not vertically. We're going to hang ours all in 5/8, and I'll tell you why. Let's see. We'll talk about how to cut on vaulted ceilings, cathedral ceilings, how to use a router, everything I can think of. I'm going to throw it in there because I do know how to do it, but I just don't do it much anymore. Yeah, I'm back to doing my own editing, sort of. I hired a company for a month, but it cost me $1,500, and I honestly used a credit card to do it because I didn't have $1,500 to spare. My YouTube channel pays pretty good. We're almost to the 6-figure income per year, but we've got so many expenses from being health issues. We've got hospital bills to pay for my wife. She just had rotator cuff surgery. We're paying on some of that. She has Medicare, but there's still co-pays and all this stuff. We just had a lot of bills, and we've got a lot of stuff in storage. So anyway, it doesn't go very far. So let's see. What was I good on? Yeah, the editing. So anyway, I hired him for a month, and I decided I didn't have the money to pay that off right away. So I went back to editing my own. I have a buddy that was doing it for a while, but he had to quit for a while for reasons. He and I have known each other for 40 years, so I knew his reasons were legit. He's back to, he's going to do some editing for me again now. I just have to get everything in line for him. It's a really complicated procedure when he's 90 miles away. It's really, really complicated. It's hard to explain, but I have to go through and finish naming all the latest videos, sort them, give him the auxiliary photos and images, everything like that. And I've just been so weak and tired. I just can't. I get 1 video a week out for you guys, and that's about all I can do. And the rest of the time, I'm just struggling to get through life, doctor's appointments, and all that other crap. So, sort of have an editor again as soon as I get him back on board. The best way to get rid of a popcorn ceiling, I've got videos on that. Let me tell you guys a secret. If you want to find a video from me about anything, go on YouTube and search for how to kickbox like a pro, that Kilted guy. I don't have one on that, but that's just an example. Type in your search, whatever it is you're looking for, and then type that Kilted guy, and you'll find it. That's how I find my own videos. I just go and search for it like that, and then I copy it and paste it to you guys. Let's see. Have I ever been to Alaska? Not yet. That's another thing about my wife and I. I'm 60. She's actually 68. She's a cougar, and we haven't been hardly anywhere. That's one of our goals, is to start traveling. I haven't been out of the U.S. I'm 60 years old. I've been out of the U.S. one time, I should clarify, and that was because my dad had a heart attack in the Bahamas. He was on vacation. I had to go over there for a triple bypass, so that's the only time I've been out of the country. And I haven't seen a lot of the U.S. I haven't seen much past Texas. After that, I don't know much about the East at all. I want to go see it. My wife and I want to travel. We want to go to Jamaica and places in Mexico and things like that. But we've just struggled for the last 12 years with health and everything else, and just haven't been able to get to that point. But with this channel and your guys' support with watching the videos, all the things you guys do on Patreon, everything else, it's helping us get there. If I can just get to the point where I can release some of these ebooks, and I've got a cool device I'm coming up with. It's kind of a tool. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on this. It's a way for you guys to mix your mud up to exactly the right thickness. Now, by that I mean there's a different thickness for knockdown, a different one for orange peel, a different one for hand texture, a different one for taping. They're all a little bit different, and you guys often go, how thick should it be? Well, our response on YouTube is, oh, like pancake batter or yogurt. Well, you know what? Pancake batter can be thick, it can be thin. It's not a very helpful analysis, but it's the best we have. Well, I have a way. I've actually got the tool to start building it right here. And I won't show you anything else, but it's a way that you could test your mud thickness and know right where it should be. And I would give you a chart that says, here's what I do to get to orange peel, light orange peel thickness. You go for this setting, and so on. It would give you a whole chart of all these different ones, and that way you'd know that you're mixing it up to the thickness that I use, and at least you know you're close. Now you'd have to tweak it, but let's see. Yeah, and as far as online doctors, I have watched a lot of Dr. Axe, Dr. Berg, a number of the online doctors, and I have taken a lot of their advice. It just honestly hasn't helped. We watch this one channel called Run DMC because this guy was a runner and he got COVID and he can't hardly run anymore, can't hardly do anything. He's had it about as long as I have. So he's done extensive research, talked to all kinds of doctors, brings them on his channel, interviews them, and it has helped a little bit, but there's just no real. No, it's not really a slump test. It's going to be different. I can't tell you exactly where I give it away. It's kind of an invention, but it's not one I can patent per se, but it could help us generate more income so we can build our house, do some traveling, things like that. But as soon as I can get it together, and I have to then go mix up all these muds and get the numbers and the chart and everything, so it could be a little while. Just depends when I start feeling better. But I'm trying to do Yeah, kind of like a viscosity meter, but those don't work on drywall mud. They work on paint. I've painted cars like that Model T. That was my paint job. And they work for thin paint, but they don't work for mud. So it's going to be a way to measure the viscosity basically, but with drywall mud. And like I say, yeah, there is kind of another tool out there, but I won't get into that too much more. It's just it hasn't been adapted for this use and for mass use by all you guys. And I hear the question so much about which what thickness something should be, and it's just so hard to explain. So I figured that's going to be the easiest way. It'll give you guys a way to measure it. Red Stick Ricky and the Boss. No, never heard of that one. But Dr. Stephen Gundry, yeah, I'll look into that. I also follow Thomas DeLauer. He's a fitness trainer. He's really knowledgeable about nutrition. We're going to work on, one of the things I'm going to try is an elimination diet. So we bought this, on the advice of my chiropractor, we bought rice protein powder. And the concept is you basically only eat this protein powder for a few days. I got to look up the exact details, but like a couple days, and then see if you start, you'll probably feel a little bit worse because you're not eating very good, but then start bringing food back in one at a time. Like maybe we bring in some veggies or bread. Some of the common things that we might be allergic to, like dairy products or gluten, and see if it makes us feel worse or better. And it's kind of a way to test for food allergies. So what respiratory, as far as for like dust and that, thanks Nanak. As far as dust mask, I used to have a box of N95 masks before all this COVID hit. I still have them, but most of the time that's all I wear. I just put one on. I try to dust or have as little dust as possible. Over here in the corner is my drywall sander that hooks up to a vacuum, and by hooking it up to the dust deputy in between, it really cuts down on the amount of dust. So it doesn't, honestly, I don't think you need a mask if you're using that. I think I'm gonna have to plug my phone in now, see if this cord will reach. No, ain't gonna reach. Everything's going dead doing it on battery here. Let me see if I can spot my battery. It said 10% a minute ago. Yeah, well, I guess if you guys see me disappear, you'll know my battery went dead, unless I can go find a battery bank, but I'm not sure where the nearest one is. Can't think how to do it without this cord, and it just ain't long enough from here. Almost. So let's see, anyway, run into an issue in cold weather where mix hot 45 to perfect. I actually, one of the videos I plan on shooting soon, really soon, I may shoot it even while I'm kind of on this recovery thing, because it's a video about like 15 secrets about hot mud that many drywallers and pros don't know. And I guarantee you there's going to be some you don't know, because hot mud is a really finicky product. It's affected by dirty water. It's affected by temperature of the water. It's affected by how many pans of mud you mixed up that day. I've stood on jobs where we just used hot mud all day, fixing like a motel, bunch of damage everywhere. And after about 4 or 5 hours, the mud starts setting up in really weird ways. And I determined it's a lot to do with, yeah, my computer's not even close. I could grab a power bank. I might have to do that here in a minute. Anyway, after like 4 or 5 hours of using hot mud, it was setting up in lumps in this end and runny in this end. And I can give you some tips on how to minimize that, but the short version is always have clean water that's just for mixing up. Don't wash your tools in it. And let's see, you might even switch pans. If you're mixing in a pan, you might have to switch now and then. Don't over mix it. Don't mix too fast or too long. Make sure everything is spotless in between your pan, your knives. You're not tracking any foreign dirtiness into it, because that little residue from a previous batch will screw up another batch. Temperature you can put hot mud over a repair where there's paint on this side and mud on this side, and this side will set up just the way it's supposed to. This one can take twice as long, 3 times as long. It's not perfect, but yeah, maybe I have an extension cord. Let me see. I'm just looking for a real handy, so hang on a second here. Here, I can probably do this. I didn't plan this real well. It was a spur of the moment thing. I thought, you know, yeah, I could do a live stream right quick, and there's usually a lot of planning that kind of goes into doing these things. It can honestly take, there, yeah, it just went into 10%. Doing live streams can honestly take hours between setup and cleanup. If you want to have files to show, images, tools, things like that. So I'm doing it the quick and down and dirty way. So there we go. We should, I got to turn this on. There we go. All right, that should get both of them going. Thanks, Bacon, if you're still there. Catch you on the next one. Any contractors like Valley Interiors, Monarch, Tedco? Nope. I actually don't work clubs or homeowners, and I do get some contractors, but I mostly do these small jobs, like up to a week long sometime repair. So I guess I do get maybe 15 or 20% contractors, but honestly, I'm expensive. So contractors often don't want to use me because I've been doing this 35 years or more, over 20 years. I know this might sound cocky, but I know I'm one of the best. I've seen too much work to know what a lot of guys do in this area, and I give people top quality repair. I leave the job clean. I communicate with the customer. Like if I'm driving to their job and I'm going to be late, if I'm going to be more than 15, 20 minutes late, I text them. I don't do that crap of just not showing up or showing up 2 hours late. I get the job done when I say I'm going to. I show up the day I'm going to show up, not the day after. I give top quality service to my customers, so I charge a top quality price. And contractors a lot of times don't want to pay that, and I get it. You know, they're trying to make money too, but I honestly, these days I make about $100 an hour on small jobs, and that's because I can go in and do a repair in 1/4 of the time the other guy does. So I charge the same price, but I get it done so much faster and so much better. I just make really good money, but I can make more on YouTube in the long run and it's a security blanket. I can be sick, I can be on vacation, I can be totally retired, and that money's gonna keep coming in. When I quit drywall, the money stops. So yeah, you get what you pay for. So if you guys, any of you guys out there are afraid to charge more than you are, if you feel like you're worth it, you gotta charge it. You gotta charge what you're worth, and you honestly should be losing 30 to 40% of your bids. If you're not, you're too cheap. Yeah, sometimes GCs can be a pain, especially big ones. You can wait 30, 60, or 90 days. We have a line of credit through a company called Funbox, and that's why we have it. When we do take on one for, say, a hospital or something, it might be 90 days before we get paid, so we borrow the money from Funbox, pay our bills. As soon as that check comes in, we pay off Funbox. A lot of contractors have to do that. And I've honestly been burned a number of times, and more from a contractor type job than a homeowner. I've learned to write really good contracts. For anything over $400, I spell out everything, when I'm going to start, how long it'll take, what materials I'm going to use, everything you can. That way, when you get to the end, there's no argument about you didn't do this, you didn't do that. I have actually got to the end of jobs and had customers go, yeah, but you took too long or something, and I look in the contract and say, it says I would be that long. I did it in the time I said. Ends the argument right then. Carpentry. What's my favorite creation? I'm not sure if you mean like furniture or house building. As far as house building, I'll tell you, I have a fairly limited amount of experience, but my dad did get into building houses for a while, so I worked with him, and he taught me the basics of framing. So I know how to lay a wall out and things like that, build headers. I can figure out how to do stairs. They're kind of complicated, but I know the gist of it. The areas that I would have a little trouble with is, say, hip roofs and things like that, where it's compound miter cuts. But, you know, I've done enough of this stuff. When you've done it this long, you can learn things like that pretty quickly. It really helps you go from one thing to the other, one trade to the other. Let's see. Yeah, and one reason I'm really good at what I do is it's just my nature. I am kind of a perfectionist. I've had to learn to rein that back, because if you're too much of a perfectionist, you won't make much money. You've got to learn where to draw the line, and sometimes you got to do that by understanding what light is going to come in where. Because if it's really favorable light, let's say it's a basement, nothing on the ceiling is going to show the minor stuff, because the light all comes from the ceiling and goes down. If you have a window over there and it shines across the ceiling, now it's going to show stuff. You just got to learn what's going to show, what won't, and where to draw the line on perfectionism, or you'll lose your butt if you're too much of a perfectionist. So just like the reason I graduated with honors from the electronic warfare school, it's because I try and do the best I can at whatever I'm going to do it. I told my nephew one time, and I think everybody should hear this, and I'm sure a lot of you know this. He used to go through jobs kind of often when he was younger. He was like at this job for 2 weeks and Taco Bell for a month, and he was always complaining, oh, they make me do this, and they want, even doing drywall. He did drywall, and I remember once he complained, oh, they're going to want me to paint their room pink or something like that. And I'm like, dude, it's their job. You know, you do whatever they want. You just do the best you can. Said, I don't care if you're pumping outhouses. Be the best outhouse pumper you can, because somebody might notice. You might get a better job because they notice how you hustle. You don't bitch and moan. You get the job done. You show up on time. You present yourself professionally, so on. And I've always tried to do that in my line of work. So Yeah, there's one thing about YouTube is I don't have to deal with getting burned anymore. I've been burned too many times by, usually it's greedy people, because I do a good job. They usually just come up with some way to screw you. One of the worst was I was doing a job on a motel or a restaurant, and they were in this big rush, you know, we got to get it open by Thanksgiving or something. And this owner, he would drive up in his fancy Porsche every day, and we were working till 10 o'clock at night sometimes trying to get it out on time. Get to the end of the job, I didn't get paid. And I had my nephew working for me, couldn't pay him. Turns out the contractor got shorted like $30,000 on the end of the job, and he couldn't get paid either. And it was all just because the guy wanted to screw everybody, because was one of the rich, greedy bastards. Now, I've had some rich customers that were totally, you know, honest and good customers, but some of the worst have been some of the richest. So that's why I kind of like to work for the little guy with a house and a job. They value the dollar. They know what it's worth, and they pay you when you're done. Yeah, I mean, I'm like pink rooms. I don't care. In the, you know, in the old days, probably a lot of you know this. In the old days, we used to spray glitter on the popcorn ceilings, and I still think it looked kind of cool. But you know, now to think of putting glitter on your ceiling, everybody'd laugh you out of the room. But that's what we used to do back then. We had a special glitter gun, filled it up with glitter, turn the crank, and it would blow it up. So you'd come out looking like Frosty the Snowman too, but that's what we did back then. A video on contracts. That's probably going to be part of my business building class. One of the things I've figured out is if you really want to build your business, there's a lot of little secrets to it, like communication is a big one. So in other words, like there's all kinds of secrets. Whenever you get requested to do a bid, you want to jump on that just as fast as you can, because a lot of times the customer will take the first decent bid they get. They don't really want to look at 3 others. They just want to get going. You give them a decent bid, it looks professional, nice contract, they give it to you. So you want to go bid it just as soon as you can. If you can do it by phone, I do a lot of my bids by pictures. I've done so much, I can just look at it and go, yep, I know what that's going to take. Get that bid out right away and you get it. The other thing is things like following up, asking for referrals, asking for reviews on Google. There's all kinds of things I can tell you. Now, Matthew, if you'll go back and look at my community tab, I think one time I posted a copy of my contract on there. I just blocked out some of the areas. If not, I might have it on my Etsy store, which should be in the link of most of my videos. And if not, I'll try and get it on there. I probably have to charge something. I can't give away anything on the Etsy store, but it really can help you guys out. I kind of got mine from somebody else, and then I just modified it over the years. I learned to put things in there, like one time I started putting in, if this job is not ready more than once, I'm going to charge you $200 for each day that I show up. And that's because I've had customers go, yeah, can you come out and do this next month on Thursday? Okay, sure. And I've even contacted them like a week early, show up on that Thursday, and they're like, oh, I forgot you were coming, it's not ready. And so you go home and you got nothing to do all day. That happens. I'll give them that one break. But if I show up again and it's not ready, I got to charge them. I can't just keep showing up. And that also makes them realize, oops, I better get that ready for that second time or he's going to charge me. It also worked one time because I did a job for some thieves. They flipped houses, and this was when I was just kind of getting back into drywall after my biodiesel. And they would hire us guys at the cheapest price. So I flipped 2 houses for them. I did flooring, overlay on the ceiling, new cabinets, a lot of interior doors, trim, bathtubs. I did all kinds of work and I did it all myself. And I had a contract. Well, first of all, when I showed up, they said they would supply all the materials because they didn't want me marking up the materials. Okay, so I showed up, no materials, no electricity, no water, there was nothing ready. So I came back the next day, still nothing. And the gist of it is, I went a whole week before they got electricity turned on. And then they started going, hey, we don't have time to go get those materials. Can you run get this and get that? And got to the end after flipping 2 houses, and they said, oh, we're holding out $800 because you took too long. I said, there's nothing in my contract about a deadline. Yeah, well, we think you took too long, so we're holding out $800. So I put a lien on their house that they were trying to sell. And I added in $200 a day because it wasn't ready. Like I said in the contract, it was not ready for 5 days, so I added $1,000 on top of the $800 they owed me. Took a year, but they finally paid us $1,000. That we settled on that, and that's because of that contract. So I've learned the hard way to put some of these things in there. So I'll try and put that on my Etsy store. Yeah, there's, bidding bigger jobs especially, it's kind of cutthroat sometimes. And a lot of times, honestly, guys don't realize that they're cutting their own throat. They don't even realize it because they're living off of the next draw. So in other words, you get a job, you get a $2,000 draw, you do it, you get to the end, you're still owed money, but you got to draw from the next job. You're living off of that one. You're living off of future credit essentially. And usually after a year or two, they go under because they've been just getting deeper and deeper. And it's just really a bad deal when people are undercutting everybody else. But you just got to be careful. You can certainly do it and make money. My dad, he did residential and commercial for most of his life. Then he started building houses. He used to work for Shaw Construction. Some of you probably heard of them out here in this area. They do colleges and motels. Back then they were smaller, but my dad at one time had 50 drywallers working for him because he did a big majority of the condos and that in Vail. This is in the 60s when skiing was really just taking off, and he happened to be in Eagle, Colorado. So he got the work and just had tons of guys working for him, but he gave it up, closed it, came down here and opened up a big old tire store because he was tired of all the crap. He had to threaten to throw a guy off a balcony to get paid one time because the guy just kept not paying him, and he was up in debt $100,000 with his suppliers. They were cutting him off. He couldn't do any more work. He literally went up and grabbed the guy, took him over to the balcony railing, told him, you pay me or I'm gonna throw you off here. And he's like, oh, you can't do that. He's, hey, I got nothing else to live for. You're killing me. He was probably threatening him, but it scared him enough the guy paid him. Sucks that you gotta do that though. Let's see. I see one person saying the sound is a little weak. How is it to everybody else? Earlier, everybody said it was pretty good, so I haven't done anything, but retail stores. Okay, I'll try and talk up a little bit, but my voice gets weak because of this chest congestion. I can't get the voice out like I used to. But yeah, in the world of construction, you really got to be careful. Sometimes it's better to just not take a job. Sometimes you got to go by your gut. If you feel like something isn't right about this, it's probably a good idea to not do it. I've heard recently of people who got negative reviews from customers when all they did was bid the job. They just didn't like their bid, so they got a negative review. Imagine what it would have been like doing a job for that customer. So sometimes you just got to go by your gut. Oh, aircraft electrician. Yeah, I was electronic warfare. I worked on um, A7 jets. They were not really fighters; they're more like attacks. So that's why the A7. They would carry a shit ton of ordnance though, and they were slow. They phased them out shortly after I left that squadron in Kirtland Air Force Base, and my squadron was called the Taco Squadron in New Mexico. Imagine that. And they went to F-16 shortly after that. I really wished I could have stuck around, but I was doing drywall at the time, and drywall was tanking in Albuquerque. In 1989, I was getting $9 an hour. I asked for 11, and they turned me down. Couldn't do it. I moved to Seattle, Washington. I immediately got 17 an hour, and then we went to piecework and started making way more than that. I I actually was 4 months behind on my car payment. I had a IROC Z Camaro, little hot rod, and I got 4 months behind. I knew it was about to get repoed. I went to Seattle, worked my butt off, and in 2 months I made 6 car payments. Got all caught up. So, um, yeah, I really liked working on the planes. I really wish I could have stuck it out with that, but it just didn't work out for me. And I really would have preferred to be on active duty. I liked a lot of things about it. I miss the military. I'm one of my buddies, one of my roommates from my first base. He caught me on here on YouTube one time, and we chatted. And he was like, "Man, even back then, you were the fix-it guy. You could fix anything." Because I did. I used to be the guy everybody'd come to for brake jobs and paint jobs and all kinds of stuff. I even painted my Chief Master Sergeant's Bronco red and white. Everybody just knew I was the guy that liked to work on cars. My boss, he was even really cool. He would let me work. His rule was, when your paperwork's done for the day, you can go. So I'd work hard, get it done by like 1 o'clock, take off, and I'd go work on his car. And the whole time he was my boss, I did a brake job with new rotors and everything. I did a tune-up. I completely painted it. Did a bunch of work on it, all on the side. So that was side money for me. And I did touch-up paint on other guys' cars. And I liked the fact that we had a hobby shop where you had a complete paint booth, lifts, welders, everything you could want. And then you had a wood hobby shop with all the woodworking tools. So I loved it. Yeah, the only bases I was at was, let's see, I went to Keesler Air Force Base twice, which is on the coast of Biloxi, Mississippi. The second time I was a sergeant, so I was an NCO. I got to go to the NCO quarters and drive my own car. That's when I bought that IROC. So I drove there, had an IROC, stayed in the NCO quarters. I didn't have to march anywhere, go to school 6 hours a day. And after that, I would actually go bag groceries, because on a military base, the people that bag your groceries, they work for tips. Tips only, pure cash. And even then in let's see, that was like 1987, I was making about $10 an hour cash. So I'd go down there and work. And the rule was, if you want to work, you just show up. If you don't want to work, you don't show up. They didn't care. They just did roll call. So I that was my spending money. I was buying stereos and traveling around and doing whatever. Let's see. I'm glad that with some of you that you actually realize you're in over your head. I teach drywall and I encourage you to try it, but be careful and don't try to bite off too much. Some things should be left to a pro. If you want a good job, but if you feel like you're up to it and you watch enough of my videos and pay attention to a lot of things I show you, a lot of you are pulling off jobs that are kind of amazing me. I've seen some pictures of bathroom remodels that came out really good. So you got to decide what your skill level is and kind of stay within that, because you don't want to get into something that's too complicated and basically screw it up, because then it could cost you more to have a guy like me come and fix it. I've actually fixed quite a few drywallers repairs. Some drywallers do a pretty good job, but there's some that just don't, because drywall repairs is really a whole different animal than doing new construction. I had to learn that the hard way. The very, very first job I did doing a repair was a new kitchen ceiling where they ripped it out and did a bunch of work, but it went into the existing ceiling. So my job was to finish it and match the texture. I didn't match the texture. It wasn't really even close. So my boss made me go back, sand it off and redo it. I learned a lesson that day of this is harder than I thought. So I put a lot of effort into studying textures, what makes a texture, how to match it, blend it, all that stuff. So if it's something you're unsure about, you might want to just stay away from it, but be careful with that. Yeah, I'm actually really good with automotive too. I can fix just about anything. New ones, I don't want to even mess with them, but I just have this ability to work on a car. I do it all the time for my stepdaughter. Her car used to break down all the time. She's got a newer one now, but it was always breaking down, and I could often just tell her what's wrong by the description, and I was able to fix pretty much everything that went wrong. And that partly starts from my very first car was a Volkswagen Bug, and my dad showed me how to tune it up and do some basic work. A year or so later, I bought this 54 Chevy truck, kind of like this one. And right off the bat, we started doing things like kingpins in it and working on it. We rebuilt the motor twice. The first time my dad did it by memory and didn't come out so great, leaked oil. So the next time we rebuilt it, I bought a book, I studied it. That engine's still in my truck and it's still going today. So I learn by doing. I like to fix things. I can fix about anything around the house. I just kind of am the jack of all trades, but I know my limits. There's things I know I shouldn't mess with, and I don't. Like plumbing, I can get it done, but I hate it. Up at least 3 times, make at least 4 trips to the hardware store. I got a good friend who's a plumber. I'll call him every time now. Like when we build our house, that's one of the things I probably won't do. I might do the electrical. I think I can figure that out with my electronics experience, and electrical's not super complicated. Figuring out how to do 3-ways and all that will take some studying, but I might do it. Depends on time. The rest of it I can figure out. We're probably even going to do some cool epoxy pours on our countertops and really some custom stuff, some Venetian plasters, some coffered ceilings, some recessed lighting, LEDs. It's going to be a smart home where I can turn things on and off with my voice, things like that. Hey, Timinator, good to see you. I don't know how long I've been going. Can anybody tell how long this has been going? I think quite a while. My phone's so far away, I can't tell. I gotta have a drink though. A little orange grapefruit. Yeah, I actually, 68 minutes. Probably have to wrap it up here in in a little bit, but you guys are still hanging out here, so yeah, I loved my Volkswagen. I have plans to buy one and restore it. I actually had to do a bit of work on that because I wrecked it when I was a kid. I was goofing around, actually dumping confetti out the window at back out in the country, and I looked over my shoulder, pulled the wheel a little bit, hit the gravel, turned the wheel way too suddenly. It just skidded because there's no weight in the front end of a Volkswagen. The barbed wire fence was about 3 feet off the road. I hit it, spun me sideways into it, and we just slid through each post, just breaking them. Broke about 4 of them, hit one about that big, and it just tipped me up on my side and put a big dent in the side, tore the front end all up. My dad made me help do the body work and help get it repainted. Oh, let's see. I'm seeing 1 hour and 49 minutes and 68 minutes. Maybe that's just how long each person has been on here. Let's see what I can see. Looks like 111 minutes, so 1 hour and 49 minutes, probably closer. Yeah. Plumbing is, one of the things about plumbing is they have all these different sizes. You go look at one type of pipe and this is a 1/4 inch, and the next type of pipe, this is a 1/4 inch, because they got all these different kinds of threads and all that. It's a nightmare to me. Yeah, you know, the barbed wire survived all that because it was just going up over the top of my car, scratching the crap out of it. It's just the fence post I took out, came back later, and they were just, the wire was sagging, but it was still okay. They just needed new fence posts, but we didn't know who owned it. It was in the middle of nowhere. And one of them dumb things, it's the only time I've been in a wreck that was my fault. I've since learned to be a really good driver. I used to go, and the reason is because I used to go play in the snow every chance I got. And we're in Colorado, so it snows a lot, fair amount where I'm at. So I would play all the time, and now I have no problem with the snow. I can tell you a little story that shows, kind of proves that. When I was getting out of biodiesel, things were really slow, and my wife had a friend who was in FEMA, and he kept telling us, you need to go to Minot, North Dakota. They had a flood up there. They lost thousands of homes. They're begging for contractors. So I did some research. I read the papers. I did all this research. They were begging for contractors. So I'm like, well, let's go up there and see if we can round up some work, and then I'll bring people up and we'll do it. So we borrowed a friend's camp trailer. It was I think it was about a 20-foot camp trailer, pretty small one. And I had a 4-wheel drive truck with brand new all-terrain tires on it, and a diesel. It was heavy. It was really good in the snow. Crew cab. We're going across South Dakota on a dry, totally dry road. Straight, dead straight, flat, typical South Dakota road out in the middle of nowhere. And all of a sudden I see snow on the road. So I slowed down from 65 to about 55, and I was reaching down to put it in 4-wheel drive, and a wind gust hit me. And that's why it was snowy. The wind was blowing right through a tunnel. There was no hills, no nothing to give it away. And it blew us from going straight like this to about a 35-degree angle. Me and the truck and the trailer were all sliding, all 8 wheels, down a road with a shoulder about that wide. And I managed to correct it without even a bobble. I just caught it over in this lane, brought it back real gently, never even fishtailed, nothing. And that comes from playing in the snow many, many, many times. Saved my butt. Although I gotta say, I think we pinched little pieces of leather out of the seat that time. Yeah, it was the whole time I was just going, oh, I was cussing. I can't say it on here because it'll demonetize me, but I was using the F word over and over. Oh, no. but I knew to make minor adjustments until it caught, and then you got to not overcorrect. I actually want to do a video on this channel about driving in the snow if it snows out here again, because there's some tips and tricks I could give to some of you who haven't driven in the snow much. But yeah, it was probably pretty funny to watch. Anybody else got any questions? So I bet my wife is gonna fix me dinner before too long. Oh yeah, I've jerry-rigged so many things. I can tell you kind of a funny story. If anybody in here knows about old vehicles, well, my 54 Chevy truck has vacuum wipers. So that means it takes the vacuum off the engine and it drives the vacuum motor to turn the wipers. Well, one time I was driving with my brother on one side, me in the driver's seat, and a rainstorm came along, and all of a sudden we had no wipers because the hose had gotten a split in it. And so we stopped on the side of the road. I jumped out and tied a string to this wiper and a string to this wiper. He grabbed that one, I grabbed this one. We're going down the road, sawing the wipers back and forth. Hey, we had wipers. We probably looked like the Three Stooges or something, but I've also had to do things like, I'll tell you a story my dad did one time. He was repoing and he was out in a slightly iffy area in New Mexico, but if you go out onto a reservation, you're not supposed to be there. But there's certain areas where it's kind of like a rough neighborhood, and his truck broke down. And he blew a hole in the radiator hose right near the end. So he thought, well, I'll just get out and cut the end off, slide it up, clamp it, take off. He didn't have a pocket knife. So he looked all through the truck. He didn't have hardly any tools. He found a screwdriver. Usually there was full tools. Didn't have any of them with him. So he was like, well, what am I going to do? I'm in the middle of nowhere at 3 in the morning. So he takes the radiator hose off and chewed the end of it off. I don't know if any of you messed with a radiator hose, but they're tough. And then they got that poisonous glycol in there. He chewed the end off, put it back on there, got him home. That's the kind of things you got to do sometimes. So, let's see. After you scrape the ceiling and are doing a smooth finish, do you tape the corners and repaint the walls? Okay. I have actually caulked many an angle. It's a video I want to do. I've kind of got a little mini video I shot on this last job, because you can get by with just caulking an inside angle. Excuse me. Part of the reason I know this is when I do popcorn ceiling removals, if I can't remove it due to asbestos or too much paint, I put a new layer over it. Well, when you put a new layer over the old, you end up with a crack around the edge. But if you think about it, you don't really need to tape it because it's already taped on the layer above. You just got to get rid of that crack. So I started caulking it, because if you tape it, you now messed up the wall. And now you got to texture the wall, paint the wall, prime it. You made a lot more work. If you just caulk that crack, you don't have to paint the wall, you don't have to texture the wall. And I almost always did a skip trowel so I didn't have to spray or mask. But what I would do is caulk it twice. And I'd try and round it just a little bit. And you want to get a medium heavy bead on there, but not too rounded. And then the next day it'll sometimes shrink and crack a little bit. So then you come back, put a second coat on. I've gone back to jobs where customers had me do this part this year, a year later, this part, a year later, this part, and I've seen that those have held up. I've seen that many times, and so the caulking will hold up just fine. Now on a new job, you don't do that because of numerous reasons. One is often there's a recess right in the angle that you got to coat anyway. There's all those screws in there that you got to coat anyway, so it's just faster to tape it on new construction. Oh, let's see, next question here. Let's see, how am I feeling? Well, I did talk about this earlier, but I know a lot of you just came in, so I'll try and give you the short answer. I still feel pretty crappy. I've had this long COVID as best I can figure. It's long COVID because ever since I got COVID in March of 2020, I've had no energy. I had the worst brain fog you can imagine for a while. That has actually improved quite a bit. But I just have no energy. If I go do anything physical, I get really sore the next day. I shake a lot. I'm weak. I can only work for 2 or 3 or 4 hours and then I'm just shaking. I get more tired than you can ever imagine. It's not like, oh, I'm exhausted, I need to rest. For me, it's almost like collapsing exhausted. It wipes me out so bad, so suddenly. When I go downhill, I call it crashing because I just crash. And it's like somebody pulled the plug out of the tub. All the water goes out, that's all my energy. I come in, I can barely walk. I can't hardly talk to my wife. I just got to sit, rest 30, 45 minutes, then I'm back to feeling okay. I can barely talk, and that's partly because I still have something going on with my lungs. I think the COVID kind of messed up my lungs, but main thing is I am working on things to get better. I'm doing a whole bunch of things, and I'm just going to continue trying to get my body to reset itself and heal itself. Oh, let's see. Snowmobiling. I'll tell you a story about that too. When we lived in Eagle, Colorado, my dad also sold snowmobiles. So when I was like 7 years old, I was riding a 440. They were called Scorpions. It's an old brand that went out of business. And he let me ride anything. My dad, he was somebody that let me drive anything. And it made me a really good driver. I can run equipment, I can run backhoes, track hose. I can run about anything because my dad used to put me on everything and just tell me to drive it. So that snowmobile was way bigger than I was. And he gave us a little smaller one, a smaller horsepower one. It was still full size, but it was small. And that one we could play on all the time and we were okay. Because we lived on a ranch, we'd just go drive out in the field where the cattle were and it was packed and it was easy. But then he'd let me get on his big snowmobile and I'd go out and spin it and get it stuck and I'd just leave it right where it was and he'd come home and just laugh and go pull it out. He used to let me, well, let's see, I learned to drive a 49 Willys Jeep with a 350 small block in it with a clutch. When I was 7 years old, I had to stand up to push the clutch in, but we were on a ranch. I couldn't hurt anything. If I drove off the road, I went into a grassy field. He let me drive tractors when I was young, 2-ton dump trucks with a splitter. Didn't teach me how to use the splitter. He just put me in it and told me to drive. But I got to say that doing all that kind of stuff, it made me a better driver. So I used to ride snowmobiles quite a bit, and then we finally wore them out and haven't rode them in a while. Can you take newer car parts to older cars to restore them? Well, parts for older cars, either you get them off of another older car, or there's a lot of companies out there that make repops, basically. Like LMC Truck makes parts for my old 54. They make about everything on that thing. You can even get patch panels for certain spots. So you can just cut it out and put a new patch panel in. So you kind of just have to research that. Let's see. Yeah, and I know Michigan would have a lot of snow. Oh, and as far as functional medicine, I went to a functional medicine doctor for a while. Back in October, some of you probably know, you guys wanted us to start a GoFundMe. We were in a rental. We wanted to stay there till we could buy. They sold the house, and so it forced us to move. And here it was, about as sick as I've been, weak. My wife is fully disabled. We were out of money because I couldn't work, and we'd run up a ton of credit card debt, and we were literally this close to living on the street. We were thinking that's our only choice, with 5 cats. So we were in a bad situation trying to figure out what to do. And a lot of you asked me to start a GoFundMe as a way to give back for all the help I've given you guys and saved you money. So I agreed to it on that term. And I used a fair amount of that money for functional medicine. I went to a functional medicine doctor who I respect in this valley. He had me do Myers cocktails, NADIV treatments. I did ozone blood infusions. He didn't give me much advice on nutrition, so I'm going to go to a naturopath here soon and see if she's got any advice on nutrition. But I did quite a bit through him, and I bought all kinds of gadgets, leg compression things and back stretchers and red light therapy, and I've just done a lot, but I do need to go see a nutritionist soon. Because I believe that Western medicine has its limit. Western medicine is great for fixing broken bones, cutting out things, destroying things like cancer, and giving you medications to relieve the symptoms. But I don't think they're very good at fixing the underlying cause. So I think a lot of mine are nerve related. I have bad restless legs. I'm taking kratom lately. I just started that about a week ago, and it actually seems to be helping. So today I just went and bought a bunch more, and it seems pretty safe. I don't even feel anything except less restless legs, and I sleep a little better. So I'm trying that, always trying something new. And I probably get fruit every day because I juice. As I mentioned earlier, I bought this $500 juicer that has a hopper on it that holds the equivalent of probably 3 oranges. So I just throw a bunch of green leafy veggies in there like kale or spinach. And then I've got some recipes that I really like, and some of them have lemons and apples, things like that in it. I make about 2 gallons at a time, and I put it in pint jars, seal it up, freeze it. I was told by the juicing pros that if you freeze it, it will last. And so every day I break one out, and I have one thawing the day before. So I have 1 pint a day of juice, and it has some veggies in it and a lot of, no, I said that backwards, some fruit in it and a lot of veggies. What's a lectin? So I'm going to continue to reach out to other healthcare professionals outside of Western medicine, because the VA really has pretty much told me they don't know anything else they can do for long COVID. So I really think I've got to put my body in the right condition to where it can heal itself. And that's one reason I want to do hyperbaric treatments. There's also some other treatments for pain I could do, but like I said earlier, my YouTube channel is the only income I have. I can barely do any drywall, and so it pays the bills, but that's just about all it does. We have a little bit left over each month, but we're trying to pay down some bills to get my credit score back up. My credit score was in the low 5s for a while because of not working. Couldn't pay the bills. We got behind on some. I almost had my last truck repossessed. But now the YouTube channel took off a lot. We gained 100,000 subscribers this year, and that made the difference. Now it pays the bills and leaves us a little bit extra. So I got to be careful, but yeah, I get zinc every day. I think pretty much I don't know if I do it every day. I've taken zinc a lot of times. When I feel like I'm getting a cold or the flu or something, I kind of have a routine of oregano oil pills, black elderberry, zinc, echinacea, vitamin C, and maybe one other. I have a little box with all that in it just for cold and flu. And usually if I take that right away, I don't get real sick. So I've tried tons and tons and tons of supplements, and I don't take them all at once. I just try some for a month or two. If it doesn't make any difference, I move on. But I don't know if I've taken any L-lysine lately. I usually take that when I get a cold sore. But I've taken so much, I honestly can't remember everything, because I have literally I probably have tried 50 different supplements easily. So it's just a matter of trying. I got to try something. So I go watch one of the gurus like Dr. Axe or Dr. Berg, one of those guys, get their advice on something. I try it. If it doesn't work, I move on. I'm still taking a fair amount of different supplements. I actually go get a little container I call my pill bucket, because there's probably 15 or 20 pills in it sometimes, but some of them are glucosamine chondroitin for my bad knees, vitamin D, because wintertime and I've been diagnosed with low vitamin D. I take iron because I've been diagnosed with low iron. Oh, let's see. I also take blood pressure medications because I can't seem to get that under control. It hovers right around like 140, 145, 150 over 95 and 102. It's always a little bit high. But let's see. An old video about a doctor saying to lather the body with hydrogen peroxide 2 times daily. I think my cancer is under control. Sorry about that. All right, here's my cancer story. They had me go get a biopsy because my PSA score was rising. That's the general guideline. And it rose too quickly and too much, so they did a biopsy, and sure enough, they found cancer in 1 out of 12 sections. So that was not enough to panic, but we decided to keep an eye on it. Well, about 2 or 3 years later, we did another biopsy. This time it was 4 out of 12, because my PSA score had gone up again. Since that time, I've started eating healthier, doing this juicing, cutting out sugar, and my PSA has been staying pretty solid. So I just saw my my urologist a few weeks ago, I think it was, and she said, everything looks good. If you want to continue to monitor it, I think it's a good idea. It doesn't look like it's spreading, and prostate cancer tends to be one that's slow spreading. It often can just be with you the rest of your life. So they offered me radiation early on. I turned it down because I want to try and control it naturally. There's a hospital in Mexico called CHIPSA. If any of you want to look it up, it's CHIPSA. They do a lot of alternative cancer treatments over there they can't do in the US, and they've had really good success. I would kind of like to go to them one day, but since mine's under control, I'm not in a panic about it. Plus, it's $30,000 to go over there at least, so I'll keep trying things on my own. But yeah, I'll look up that Dr. Gundry. I'm always open to something new, but I also know I can only do so much. at one time. I got to do a little here, a little there. Dang it. Yeah, and that's one reason I want to do a hyperbaric treatments, because it's basically putting you in a chamber, pressurizing it, and you get 100% oxygen in your blood instead of 20-some%. And it can really accelerate healing on all kinds of levels. But again, it's like $300 or $400 a treatment, and I just don't have a ton right now. So hopefully we can start releasing some ebooks and this tool I mentioned earlier about measuring texture thickness. And if we do, that could generate enough income to allow me to do a lot of these other things. Well, I'll tell you what, everybody, I'm losing my voice. I'm getting really, really tired. Having a hard time focusing here again, so I think it's time. I think it's been 2 hours or something. But I've really enjoyed coming on here with you guys. If you guys want me to do this more often, I might could do it a couple times a month or something. Comment down below if you do. If not, I'll just pop in now and then and see what's going on, and we'll take it from there. But at least this way I got to do something with you guys, because I really want to put these videos out, and I just can't get up the energy to do it. And it takes me days and days and days to edit one video, because I can only do a little bit and then I got to take a break. It just fries my brain. So at least I got to do this. And anybody that wants to send me any other ideas, feel free to look my email address up. It's in the about section on my homepage, should be there. And I'm not worried about giving it out. It's basically thatkiltedguy15@gmail.com. I'm open to suggestions. Doesn't mean I'll do everything you guys send me, but I do appreciate it, and I will try some of them. I research everything. If I feel like it's something I want to try, I will try it as I can afford it. So thanks, everybody. I look forward to seeing you on the next one, and maybe it'll be recorded, maybe it'll be a live stream. But I want to wish you all a good evening, and whatever time of day it is in your part of the country, and I will see you on the next video. So take care, everybody.